Happy Sabbath, happy day. I invite you to open with a word of prayer. We are praying. Our dear God, we thank you for this moment. Thank you for gathering us together. We thank you for the day that you pressed so that you can come together and learn more about you. As we have come here, we have gathered, we want to understand more of your character and we ask that as we walk through this dispensation that we are in, we ask for eyesight so that we can understand the things that are happening prophetically and also to prepare our lives to meet you is our humble prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Happy Sabbath once again. Happy day. So I want today to discuss the subject, which is not something that is new. So it will be a discussion. So I thought like we should look at the image of the beast. So that is the title. So and under this topic, I want to focus on the three things. So the objective that we are going to get from this topic, I want us to discuss one, the steps or the processes. So steps that involved in the image of the beast. So steps or processes that you can see connected to the image of the beast. Number two, what is the image of the beast in our time? Number three, when is that image is being formed? So these are the three areas I want us to look at today. The steps, the processes that is connected to the image of the beast. What is the image of the beast in our time? When is that image of the beast that is going to be formed? So when we talk about the image of the beast, we know it's found in the book of Revelation, Revelation 13. So I want us to read Revelation 13 so we can open our Bible and have a look at Revelation 13. So Revelation 13, before we go there, we know Revelation 13, it's speaking about the two beasts. You have the verses 1 to 10, speaking of the first beast, the beast that is coming out of the sea, and you have 11 to 18, the second beast. So I want us to read Revelation. We read verse 1 to 3, then we'll jump and read verse 11 to 8, 11 up to around 15. So Revelation 13, 1 to 3, I read. And I saw upon this, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and a great authority. And I saw one of his head as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all wondered after the beast. So verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the powers of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of people, and deceived them that dwell on earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by sword and did live. And he had power to give unto the image of the beast. The image of the beast should both speak and cause that as men as could not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. So verse 1 is going to tell us where John is going to stand on the sea, the sand of the sea. So if this is what we have here, so if this is John, John is going to stand at the beach, and he's going to look at and see a beast that is going to rise out of the sea. And he's going to call that one the first beast. And he's going to look at the same time and see another beast that is going to come out of earth. So you have the first beast, you can call this one the second beast that John is going to see, that is going to come out of the earth. And this beast that, another beast, so this beast that John saw, it had 2 horns like a lamb. So this second beast, you can see the second beast, it is in 2 faces. You can see it's a lamb-like. It had 2 horns like a lamb, which make it a lamb-like, and rather on is going to speak as a dragon. So you have the 2 faces of the second beast as a lamb-like and going to speak as a dragon. So when you look at John, we say he's standing on the sand of the sea, which is the beach, and we can also see that the beach will be a symbol of something. So it is a symbol of, historically, when it is being fulfilled, it is the time of the end. So the beach becomes a symbol of the time of the end. And the time of the end that we are speaking here is 1798. So when John is standing 1798, you can see the first beast from verses 1, from its rise and the work that this beast is going to do, and up to when you have also the second beast that is rising out of the earth, which is having the characteristics of a lamb, like that later on is going to speak as a dragon. Verses 14 and 15 said, the dragon face now said, 14, and deceived them that dwell on earth by the means of those miracles which he, the dragon, had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had wound by the sword and did live. And he had power to give that image, image of the beast, that life onto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as could not worship the image to be killed. So we see the second beast, which is from the aspect or the face of the dragon, is going to do something. So it is this face that is going to make an image of the beast. And we've been told that this image of the beast is from verse 12, we are told that this face of the beast is going to behave like the first beast that we have here. So, and it is the same beast that is going to make an image to the first beast. So one thing that we know, whatever the image that is going to be formed is the image of the first beast. So we need to understand the first beast so that you can also understand the second beast. So from verse 15, what I got from those verses is we have at least the steps that we can see in the creation of the image. First, we see this is verses 15 of Revelation 13 is going to tell us that the image is going to be created, because the dragon is going to say to those the inhabitants of the earth to make an image of the beast. So we see image created, image is going to be created, and we see verse 15 that that image is going to be given life by the dragon. So life is given, so there is a creation of the image, then life is given. So the image is given life. Once the image has gotten life, then the same verse will tell us that now this image, since it has life, is going to speak. And as we read, if you are following the verses, when this image is going to speak, it's going to cause as many, both poor, rich, small, great, to worship the beast, to receive, to worship the image and the beast and the mark. So when it's going to speak, I'll say it's going to issue the mark. So at least that's what I can see from the verses. The image is created, given life, then speak to give the mark, to issue the mark. And as if you are not going to worship the image or receive the mark, there is judgment that is following. So I want to give few examples of this concept, and I want us to go to the book of, you can turn to Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 3. Daniel 3, and we read from verses 1 to 4. And I'll say in Daniel chapter 3, it is the same concept that we see there. There is steps or that all the process that is being followed there. So we can go to Daniel 3, verses 1 to 4. Maybe somebody to read. Continue up to 4. Fins 5. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So what we see from those verses, verse 1, so we see Nebuchadnezzar is going to, remember the story of Daniel chapter 3 is we can say is an effect of what we see in Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar is going to have a dream, and Daniel is going to interpret the dream. And Daniel is going to say to Nebuchadnezzar, you are the God of all, the God, the head of gold. And after you, there will come another kingdom and another kingdom and another kingdom. But since Nebuchadnezzar wanted the kingdom to last forever, he's going to create an image and paint it from the head to the toes as the gold. So what we can see from those verses is from verse 1. If we break those verses, we'll see Nebuchadnezzar is going to create the image. So first we see the image created. Then you see Nebuchadnezzar calling the governors and all of those sorcerers to come and dedicate the image. So we see the aspect of dedication. The image is going to be dedicated. Then we see after dedication, then there is a herald of a loud cry that is going to call all the people to come and worship the image. So we see the three steps here. First, there has to be created image. Then this image has to be dedicated. Then once the image is being dedicated, there is a cry that is given to come and worship that image that already has been dedicated. So then at the end, if there is a consequences, if you will not going to bow down to this image that already has been created and given or dedicated, there is judgment that is coming. So we'll mark judgment. And we know the judgment that was issued. So I want to also give the second example and we move on. So I want us to read Genesis chapter 2, verses 7. And in Genesis, we'll see the same process or same steps. So maybe somebody to read Genesis 2:7. Yes. Thank you. So we see here, this is the process. This is the process of creation. So and we know God is going to. They are going to sit down and discuss that we need to make our our counterpart, which is God's image. So we see in verse 7, we see God is going to form. So the word used there is to form man, which is Adam. So we see, so you can break and see that Adam is being formed. You can say man created. We see Adam created. Then we see God giving breath of life. Breath of life is going to be given. Then afterward, what we see after life is being given, we see now this Adam is going to become the living soul that is able to walk and do his business. So I think now from these two examples that we have seen, how the image, there has to be an image created, given life, then speak. go continue to do the activities. Then when we come to our time period, we have also to see this aspect of the image created. When is that image created? When is that image given life? Then when is that image going to speak? But for us to see all of this, we need to understand what is the image of the beast. Because if you don't understand what is the image of the beast, you can't be able to see when it's been created, when it's been given life, and when it's speaking. So I want us to go to the second. So I hope we have seen the steps and the processes that we have seen through the creation of image. Yes, question?
Yeah, I have a question. So what exactly is the dedication? So you listed the steps, the creation of the image, the dedication, and then the herald giving the loud cry.
Mhm.
So what is the dedication? Because I'm struggling to, when I read through it, I don't know whether the dedication is actually people bowing down to it, or whether the dedication is because they are called together for an event. So what is the dedication?
Okay, I may not answer it fully, but you can discuss it Q&A. For what I understand, the dedication, when Nebuchadnezzar is going to call these people to come, it's like to give it officially, this is what I've done and this is what I want. Like, it's Nebuchadnezzar giving the view of what the image is supposed to be to do. Like, I've created this, and he's going to discuss with these governors and sorcerers. You know, the work of the sorcerers and the sorcerers, because they were called there, I think it's to, when you talk about the dedication, is to place it. I can say maybe press it and give it power so that it can be worshipped. So I think that's what I can say. But if not satisfied, we can discuss it further. Yes, if. Mm. Yes, yes. So I agree with what if. So if he's saying that there is that it can be understood at one point, but also you can separate it because there is this time you place this thing that you have erected, then it has to be worshipped as. Okay, can we also write it come a question so that we can discuss it Q&A, so that you can move on. So I'm saying now, since we've looked at the first step, first objective. So I want us to look at what is the image, what is the image in our time. So the question is, what is the image that we are talking about in our history? And we read from Revelation 13. So I want Revelation 13. I read it up to verse 3. In verse 3, so Revelation 13, we see a beast. So the first beast. So we see this is the beast. And this beast has 7 heads. So these are the heads. 10 horns. 7 heads, 10 horns, and verse 3 we are told one of its head was wounded to death. So you have verse 3. we have one of its head wounded to death. But we told that this deadly wound is going to be healed. Was healed. So I want to say, when you look at Revelation chapter 13, I'll say Revelation 13 is the same story, can be equivalent to Revelation 17. Revelation 13, we identified John is standing here 1798 and is going to see the two beasts. You come to Revelation 17, so we can read Revelation 17 verses 1, and I will go to the verses that I want. So Revelation 17 verse 1. And it came, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great woe that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth has committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of the fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit unto the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet beast, full of names of blasphemy, and having 7 heads and 10 horns. So 1 to 3, we see Revelation 17. John is being carried to the wilderness and is going to see the beast, the same beast that was here in Revelation 17, Revelation 13. But what we see in Revelation 17, so we can mark the same history where John, the book of Revelation, is in 1798. That is where John is standing. And John is going to see this a woman that is riding on a scarlet beast. So in Revelation 17, we have a woman that is riding on the beast, scarlet beast. So verse 8. So the verses that I've skipped, verses 4, verses 5 to 7, is speaking more of what the woman, the angel is going to explain more about the woman that is riding on the beast. So verses 8, maybe somebody will read verses 7, 8, 9, and 10.
And the angel of the to me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carried her, which hath 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out to the bottom of the pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall mark at his name, one not written in the book of life of the foundations of the world, when they behold the beast that walks and is not, and yet is. Verse 9. And here is the wine which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
10.
And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is, not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space.
Okay, thank you. So from verses 8, if we just break those verses, we see verses 8, this beast that John saw, the scarlet beast, John is going to describe or give more information of that beast. So that beast, speaking of the beast, we see the beast was, there is a time that this beast was, there is a time when this beast is not, and when this beast is going to ascend, shall. Out of bottomless pit. So that is the beast. So that is verses 8. We read verses 9. Verses 9 is going to give us what the heads are the mountains which the woman seated, which we see when we talk about the mountain. So verses 10, so we see 7 heads, which are really mountains, which are really the kings in verses 10. So we've been told that the kings, we have 5 that are already foreign, 5 are foreign. One is, and we have another that is yet is. And when this comes, continue short space. And we said John is turning 1798. So we can mark here 1798. So when we read Revelation 13, let me mark it here. Revelation 13, verse 3, 13:3, it gave us the information about the head. One of the head, so we said one of the head is going to be wounded to death, and the dead wound is going to heal. I don't know where I wrote it. Okay, here. So we have one of the head is going to be wounded to death, then the dead wound is going to heal. So when you look at Revelation 13 and Revelation 17, so these heads, the head, you can take the head and the beast as you can use it interchangeably, but we'll look at more about this head that is in this time period. So we'll see the head, one of the head that is going to die. We use it here. So when we talk about was is not Saracen, so we can, I remember Elder Baminda did the studies of understanding Daniel 11 verses 40, how we in the movement, we should have approached the book of Daniel 11 verses 40 is through the repeat and enlarge. And Baminda discussed that when you look at Daniel 11, verse 40, is a story that is going to be repeated in Revelation, in the book of Revelation. And I think we used the verses like verses 8, Revelation chapter 3, in connection with Daniel chapter 11, verses 40, where we saw the head and the piece is one thing. You can use it as interchangeably. So I will say the head in verse 3 can be also used as the piece. Can use it synonymously with the piece. So coming to this structure that we've drawn here, so we have the piece that there's a time when this piece was alive, which is the past tense. There is time this piece is not, which is the present, 1798. Then in future, this piece is going to resurrect. It's going to be there. So when you look at the heads, you said the heads, we are going to use it as interchangeably as the piece. So you come to 5 are foreign. So from first head, second, third, fourth, fifth, by the time we reach 1798, already we have the 5 which are in the past. You have one which is which we can call the sixth head. Then you will have the one that is yet to come and continue a short space is the seventh head. So from this structure, you can see when the beast is not, the sixth kingdom is there. So when the beast has resurrected, it's in the time period of the seventh head. So we will say, in as much as we said the heads can be used as interchangeable with the beast, you can see the sixth, you cannot connect it to the beast, because if it was connected to the beast, when this beast was alive, was death, also we could not have seen the sixth kingdom. So the sixth and the beast, they are not going to be used interchangeably. So when this beast is dead, the sixth head is alive. When this beast is going to resurrect, it is the seventh head which is alive. And why did I come through all of this? So remember the story brought us here is what is the image of the beast in our time. And I want to say that this beast, that the seventh head which has come after 1798, is the resurrected. Is when you read verses 11 is the eighth. So the eighth is of the seven, which I want to put it in brackets, the eighth. So this is the resurrected beast. So I want to just draw something to illustrate here. So we said the fifth head was wounded to death. So by 1798, so you have from 538, you have papacy in quote ruling for the time period of 1260. You come to 1798, the papacy, this relationship is going to die. So you see, peace the death, but we are told it's going to resurrect. And I'm saying this resurrected, which is the seventh head, this is what the image of this beast is. So I call that the seventh head equals to the image of the beast. Equals to the image of the beast. So I want to give a summary where we started and where we have reached for those who have came late so that we can move together. So we are looking at the image of the beast, and the three things that we want to discuss today is the steps that we see connected to the image of the beast. What is the image of the beast in our time? And when is that image of the beast being formed? So we went to Revelation 13 because in the book of Revelation 13 is where we see the language or the speaking of the image of the beast. So Revelation 13, we break it into two. We know the story of Revelation 13 is speaking of the two pistes, the first piste and the second piste. And we saw John is standing 1798, where he can be able to see the rise of the first piste and its activities, and sees as he looked also in another side, is going to see another piste that is going to come out of the earth, which is the second piste. So we look at the second piste, it has two faces, the lamp-like and the dragon. And we read to verses 15. Verses 15, we were able to see that there is a time, there is the steps that we can be able to see. There is creating of the image. There is when the image, the dragon is going to give the image life. Then that image, once given life, is going to speak, issue a mark for the people to be judged. We gave examples of this concept. We went to Daniel chapter 3, verses 1 to 5. We saw that Nebuchadnezzar is going to create an image. Then he was going to call the governors and astrologers to come and dedicate the image that he has created. Then we see an Herod that is going to cry aloud for the people. When they will hear that cry, they will bow down to worship the image that already been created and dedicated. Then if you will not worship the image, then there is judgment, there is consequences. We went also Genesis chapter 2, verses 7, we see the same steps. When God is creating a human being, Adam, God formed Adam, created the image which didn't have life. Then God is going to give life to Adam. Then you have Adam as a living soul that is going to do his own activities. So we come to the second point, that for us to understand all of this that we have talked about here, when the image is for us to understand the creation of the image of the beast, and when it's given life, and when it's going to give a mark, we need to understand what is this image that we are talking about. So we went to we equated Revelation 13 and Revelation 17, speaking of the same story. So when to 17, we see John is standing, taken to the wilderness, seeing a woman being drunken with the blood of the saints. So we see John is standing at the end when this woman is already drunk with the blood of the saints, which is really 1798. So we read the verses that were speaking of the woman, but we concentrated on the beast. Went to Revelation 13:3, is speaking of one of the beast's head is going to be wounded to death, but is going to be healed. So, and I said, Elder Pamina did studies that connected, uh, that was speaking about the king of the north, king of the south. Really, the story of Daniel 11:40 is about the king of the north. So where we saw like how we should understand the Daniel chapter 11 is through repeat and enlarge. So Daniel 11 verse 40 is a story about the king of the north, and can be is going to have the same story is going to be repeated in the book of Revelation, where we used these verses, Revelation 13:3, Revelation 8, yes, Revelation 8, and also Revelation 11. So when to Revelation 8, we see the beast. So what we concluded is, in those studies, the head can be used interchangeably as the beast. So when Revelation 18 is saying, Revelation 17:8 saying, the beast was, is not, Saracen, is this can be understood as a head, the head. There was the certain head that was alive at certain time period, that is not at certain time period, and shall ascend at a specific time period. So we came to Revelation 17 verses 8, we see there is a beast. This beast was alive, is not at the time of 1798, and is going to be resurrect in the future after 1798. We see the heads, which are the seven mountains, which are the kingdoms. And the verse 10 will not speak about kingdoms, but king. And we know the king and the kingdom cannot be separated. So we see five kingdoms already as foreign in the time period of 1798. There is the sixth kingdom that is present in the present time of 1798, and there is one that is going to come and will take a short space, and this that is going to come is the eighth. We also spoke about this aspect of the head equals to the beast. So when it comes to this sixth kingdom is not connected to the beast, because the beast, if it was connected to the beast, when the beast died, this could have died. But what we see from this structure, the seventh head is much connected to the beast that resurrected here. So we can't use the sixth kingdom as interchangeably with the beast here by that illustration of the structure. So we came here, we saw 1798, this beast, which is the head here that was wounded, which is the fifth head, which is the papacy in quote, because it's not so really about papacy, is going to die. 1798 is not there, then is going to resurrect. And we said the resurrected beast is the eighth, and also eighth is a symbol of resurrection. So I said that the seventh kingdom, which is the resurrected beast, is the image of this beast. That is what we've done up to there. So do we have questions up to there?
this manifests in different characteristics. Because in Revelation 13 is called a sheep, lamb light, so it could be a beast, but the different characteristics could be them as colored characteristics. When that is
So you're saying like based on what we've said, the head is the beast. Then you have the sixth head is the beast, but not the beast that was there previously. Another beast. So you will have another illustration. You have another beast that is there, that is having only this sixth head. That's what you say. Okay, for me I don't see it that way. I will explain maybe in the Q&A why I say the 60 the 7, why John is going to bring uh, to to bring together the sixth kingdom, attach it to the this beast. Why? So so the question is, how is the seventh being eighth, sindo? Okay, also that one we can answer it Q&A. So same, you can write it down. Yeah. So we know the when you look at this, we'll draw it here. So we have these heads, which are literally the kingdoms of Bible prophecy. You have number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which is Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, and papacy. The sixth, which is lamp-like, I'll say, the language of Revelation 13. Then you have the dragon. And we have several studies that have been shown that this sixth kingdom, the sixth kingdom and the seventh kingdom are both USA. Yeah, Aleppo USA. So when you come to the first verse that we read in Revelation 13, now when it says that the second beast is going to create an image of the beast, which is really speaking of the USA, we need to understand that which phase of USA is going to create an image of the beast. Is it the sixth or the seventh? And I will say from the structure that we have seen here, if we see the structure that we have went through, this one and this one, that it is this seventh kingdom is really a resurrection of the fifth. So I'll say, as I said, the seventh head, the seventh kingdom, which you can mark it as the eighth, or Sunday law movement, is equals to the image of the beast. And I want us to read a quote, GC 443, paragraph 1. So as continue opening we are opening the quote, so I want to say also something. So we talked about Revelation 13, a woman that is riding on the beast, which is Revelation 17. woman riding on the beast, and we said this is the time period of 1260. And we have the image of the beast, which is the seventh kingdom, or the resurrected beast, which is the seventh kingdom, ama the image of the beast. When it comes to Revelation 17, we see two entities, woman and beast, working together to accomplish their work. So we see there is two entities that are working together. We see a relationship between this woman, can say a woman and a man, a church and state. And it is the church ideologies that are driving the European kings, so church and state, as a relationship that is working together in this time period. So I want us to read the quote so that we can also fill in the information about the seventh kingdom. So if you found the quote, Great Controversy 443, paragraph 1.
But what is the image to the beast, and how is it to be formed? The image is to be made by the true called beast, and is an image to the first beast. It is also called an image of the beast. Then to learn what the image is like, how it is to be formed, we must study the characteristics of the beast itself.
The papacy. Okay, Aaron will tell us, so it's a question, what is the image of the beast and how is it going to be formed? And she's going to recommend that for us to understand this image, you need to understand the object, which is the papacy, as she will call it, the papacy. So, and I think we've begun to explore about the papacy in quote in the 1260, and we see the relationship. We see what was happening, the activities that was happening in 1260, the church and the state, and also as the church and state combined together, that's what Aaron White will say, that is going to bring the persecution. So when we see church and state combining together, according to Aaron White, that is what we see the image already what was happening here. But I want to read also 1 Corinthians 15, verses 41 to 43. Anybody who is there can read 43, 41 to 43. Yes.
There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differs from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power.
Thank you. So Paul is speaking about the experience of a sinner, yeah? When a person is going to die and the resurrection. What is going to happen when you die and you resurrect? So I brought that concept, and I think we've used this concept in the past, several times in the past, that as you die, you resurrect more glorious. So what we will be able to see, the seventh kingdom, the image of the beast, when it's going to be formed, it's more glorious and more power. It has more power. What we need to understand, or what we need to look at is, what do we understand by being powerful, and being more glory. How does it look like in our time? How does it look like when this seventh kingdom is resurrected? What are we calling more powerful and more glory? So we see here from here, in the concept of resurrection, being told resurrection, there is more power and also more glory. So to understand this one, we will have to go back to this history. So in this history, we said there is church, a woman that is driving the state. So this relationship, I'm gonna call it, because at the end, what we see 1798, this relationship is going to break. 1798, you have this relationship of church and the state is going to break. One of the partner is going to die. One of the partner is going to say, I'm not going to support you. So the relationship is going to break. So why is this relationship breaking? I want to say that when you have these two entities coming together, not seen as one entity, it's so fragile in that we see one of the partner is going to withdraw from the relationship, which is what we saw actually 1798. The state power is going to die. So when you come to the resurrected beast, we and this aspect of church and state is what we said Revelation 17 portrayed, Revelation 17. So when you come to the resurrected, it is more power and more glory. So, and I want to argue why it's more power and glory so that it's going to do the work successfully is when we see now this church and the state, it's no longer church and the state, because we know from first pass classes, we were made into aware. So we have I quote one of the first pass classes, we understood that when it comes to the Sunday law, the issue is no longer church and the state. It's more than that. It is culture, and I say the issue is culture and the state. Culture and the state. It's no longer, because we see and religion and the state is really two sides of one coin. So it's one thing. So when we see the seventh kingdom, the image of the beast resurrected, and it's more power and having more power and having more glory than the beast itself here, 1260, I would argue that it is this combination of the state and culture that is intertwined in that you can't see it as separate. So we see as one entity. So culture and the state are being intertwined as one entity. Can't be separated. So you can't see culture and the state separate. It's one thing that is being, it is in culture is embedded in state, and the two cannot be separated. And this is what I will call this powerful, that is going to help the seventh kingdom, this movement, to continue prospering, to continue winning. So this was fragile relationship. It went up fragmenting or destroyed or break. But this culture, that when culture and the state are so much connected and intertwined as seen as one entity, is what makes the seventh kingdom powerful and more glorious. And I call this one entity, we can see it in the Revelation model of Revelation 13. Do you have any questions or comment there? Yes. Question or comment? But answered Q&A? Yes.
In the second section on the board, the distinction that you made at that point was you've equated the head to the beast, which is clear to me. So the transition from having equating the seventh head, the image, is what is still not clear to me. Because if we can go back in time, and the head represents the head being synonymous with beast. So if we go back to Daniel 3, where we read Nebuchadnezzar, we could see Nebuchadnezzar the beast, and then the image that he sets up. So you can see that distinction. And so when you equate the seventh head to the image of the beast, I'm still struggling to catch up.
So the question is, the seventh head of the seventh kingdom as the image of the beast. How is that? Okay. Okay. So I want to any further questions? So if you can write that, so we will elaborate more on Q&A. So I want to use the concept of alpha and omega to make a point of what we have said, this illustration here. So we alpha and omega concept, ama what we call first and the last. In these kingdoms that we've spoken here, we all know that our studies have been done that Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, all this in Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 2 is speaking about the king of the north, the kingdoms of the north. So starting from Babylon, so we'll say Babylon, king of the north, the crown is handed down to the Medo-Persia, same title handed down here, same here, same here. So these are speaking about the kingdoms of the north or the king of the north. But when it comes to here, we will put a question mark. But here, I also say the king of the north. So I don't believe that the sixth kingdom is the king of the north based on what we've said about here. And I think when we will answer the question of Nick, we will explain more why the sixth kingdom is not the king of the north as by that structure. So anyway, I was talking about Alpha and Omega, and we know the first king of the north, yeah, we have Assyria, but when it comes to according to Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 2 is going to identify Babylon as the first king of the north. So we have Babylon as our alpha of alpha king of the north. And when we look at, and we have identified the seventh kingdom, I don't know whether we agree on that, the seventh kingdom is also the last king of the north. So we have the first king of the north, Babylon, and we'll have the last king of the north, which is the seventh kingdom, king of the north. So the similarities we see here, when you look at Babylon, king of the north here, we have Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar is in when you read Daniel chapter 1, Daniel chapter 1, so maybe I read quickly. Daniel chapter 1 verses 1, we know it's when Nebuchadnezzar is going to take Judah into captivity, besiege Jerusalem. So that's verse 1. Verse 2, and the Lord gave Joachim, king of Judah, unto Nebuchadnezzar's hand, with part of the vessels of the house of the Lord of God, which he, Nebuchadnezzar, carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasures of the house of his God. So when you look at Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, papacy, and the seventh kingdom, we see there is this religion and religion and culture. There is this culture where you have the state and church working together. And when you look at the kingdom of Babylon, when you go to Daniel chapter 2, though you can't see it being a separate entities. So you see Nebuchadnezzar, you can't separate Nebuchadnezzar and the religion. Because when you look at Daniel chapter 2, you will see a separate entities of what you call religion, ama church, when you come to the feet. So if this is the image of Daniel 2, let's have it in the mind, the image. I don't know how to draw the image. So you have the head, which is the gold. You have the arms and the chest. You will have the belly. You will have the legs, and you will have the feet. It is up to when you reach to the feet, that's when you will see the separation of the two entities. That's when you see clay plus iron. But when you look at these other kingdoms from the above, it is seen as one entity. One entity. Same with Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. Paganism is the religion in Rome. But when you reach to the feet, we see the two entities separate. So when you come to Babylon, we see it as one entity. Religion is embedded in the kingdom, so one entity. The same I will argue when you come to the end of the world, culture and the state is seen as one entity. So we have King Nebuchadnezzar, a priestly king. We will have also Trump, the king of the seventh kingdom. You can't separate the ideology of Trump, the ideology which you can call, which we have not identified yet, and what Trumpism separate. It's one entity. So we see Alpha, the kingdom of the king, Babylon as the king of the north. You can see Nebuchadnezzar as the priestly king. The same thing when you come to the last king of the north, which is the seventh kingdom, Trump, having these ideologies of MAGA and Trumpism cannot be seen as a separate thing. It is intertwined together. So I want to finish with I want to finish with we can compare and contrast this. We can compare and contrast God and Satan. So when you look at God, so if we compare and contrast God, so here is God and Satan. So God has a message to give to the people and wants that message to be shared to the people. And God is going to have a group of people. So God is going to choose group of people to give the loud cry or to give that message of do not worship the beast, neither receive the mark of the beast. For if you do so, then you will receive the wrath of God. Then I want to say also Satan will follow the same pattern. Don't know to call it a counterfeit, but don't know whether to call it that way. But the point I'm making is Satan also will copy what God is doing. So Satan also will have to have a tool or group of people that is going to give also a cry to worship the image of the beast. For the last question, so when is the image of the beast formed? So the question is when. When do we see now this image which we've identified, the seventh kingdom, being formed? So if we follow Aaron White will tell us when we see the church and state combined. So you know Aaron White's mind, we have to understand the perspective of Aaron White and where Aaron White is standing. So Aaron White will talk about the image of the beast and the mark of the beast from the aspect of church, when the church is going to control the state, or when church will seek the powers, when try to unite state. That's when we will have this aspect of the Sunday law, the image of the beast being formed. So we know we've moved away from this. We know it's more than the church. We have talked about the culture. So when do we see the creation of the seventh kingdom? So if we borrow the principle of Aaron White, so Aaron White will tell us that at the Sunday law, the third angel, when the third, because what is the third angel's message? It's to warn against the image of the beast, against the mark of the beast. Do not receive that one. At the same time, we have the sealing of God's people, that period. So if we go with the third angel's message, arriving the Sunday law, and is going to give a cry of not to receive the mark of the beast or worship the mark of the beast, then we can borrow that one and say the seventh kingdom, the image of the beast is going to be formed at the waymark of the Sunday law. The image of the beast formed at the Sunday law. So we know if we're taking our line, the line of 144, you have the time of the end, 1989, the second waymark, 2001, Sunday law, close of probation, and second advent. It is here at the Sunday row waymark that we see the image of the beast formed. But we said when it is formed, it's dead. It is dead. It is lifeless. It doesn't have life. It has to be given life. Then once get life, then has to give a mark. Then that you are to decide whether you are going to bow to that image or worship that image. That's when you are being the test is required of you. So at the image of the beast, when it's created or formed, there is no test that is required of you, because even we do not understand fully of that image of the beast. So we also I'll mark the image of the beast, the seventh kingdom here. What we said here doesn't have life, it's lifeless. It needs life. But a point to note, at the Sunday law, it's where you see it fully being formed. I would say there is this process, you can mark it right from the time of the end. If we use compare and contrast, God needs people to give a route cry at the dispensation of the Sunday law to the cross of probation, and from the route cry to the cross of probation. Then Satan also needs a tool, a people, to give the cry to worship the image that has been created right from the round cry. So I would argue, in as much as we are saying at the Sunday row is where you see the image of the beast formed, it is where we see it fully being displayed. But you can trace it right from when God's people, because we are comparing and contrasting God's people and the seventh kingdom. God's people are going to be a successful movement, the same way we'll see the seventh kingdom being successful doing its work. So from 1989, we see God is going to raise the movement, prepare this movement to go and do the work. However, the nature of the work, how it will look like, I don't know, to give a loud cry at the dispensation of the Sunday law. So I would argue also you can trace the seventh kingdom right from the time of the end. So we will see it from the rise of it. So I will mark here is the rise of the seventh kingdom. So at the time of the end, from the time of the end, we can see the rise of the seventh kingdom as externally, and also internally we can see the rise of the movement. So I'll do a summary. So I know next time when I'll have the class, I will continue with this aspect, when the image of the beast is going to be given life, and who is going to give life, which we know the dragon. So we need to understand what the dragon will represent in our time, and also the mark of the beast and how it's going to look like in our time. So the summary is we were looking at the image of the beast. We said we want to see the steps that is being taken to create that image. We saw that it has to be created first, given life, then speak, issuing a mark at the mark. Then we gave the examples of that process, Daniel 3, Genesis chapter 2. We went to where we speak about the image of the beast, that's Revelation 17. We see two beasts that is being portrayed, the first beast and another beast, which is the second beast. But when you look at the second beast, it is in two faces, the lamp-like and the dragon, yes, aspect. We saw that Revelation 13 is equivalent to Revelation 17. Revelation 17, we see John standing 1798, and he's going to look back and see this woman that is being drunk of the blood of the saints, the end of the 12th August 1798. We saw that there is a head that had a dead wound, died, then is going to be healed. And we call that one the resurrection. When the dead wound is going to be healed, that is what we call the resurrection. And we saw verses 8 is speaking of the beast that was alive at a certain period of time, is not at particular time, which is 1798, is going to ascend out of bottomless pit in the future sense. You see the seven heads, we've been told the five are foreign, which is going to be aligned with was when the beast was alive. Then in the time period of 1798, the beast is not, but the sixth head is there. And we made a point that the sixth head is there, the beast is died, so the sixth head cannot be used interchangeably as the beast, because if it was so, we could have seen the beast and the sixth head both not. So we could have wrote here is not, but we see the contrast here. So we're going to explore more on that. So we saw there is a beast, the beast is going to resurrect in future, ascend out of bottomless pit, that's a resurrection in future. We see the seventh kingdom rising and continue with the beast for a short space. And we said this seventh head is the eighth head, which has been resurrected. So we saw that for us to understand the image of the beast, we need to look at the beast itself, the 12th beast. And the 12th beast, what we see, it is this woman controlling the beast. These are religious ideologies that are going to drive the European kings, the church and state. But we said these two entities, this relationship as the two entities coming together, it's a fragile thing. That's why we see 1798, they're going to break. Seventh kingdom, when it's going to rise, the image of the beast, it is more glorious and has more power compared to this. And we explained what we mean by that. It's by this culture and state seen as one entity can't be separated is what we are calling more power and more glory. So I think we had this illustration of the kingdoms of Bible prophecy, starting from Babylon to the seventh kingdom. Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, Paper, seventh kingdom, both are the kingdoms of the north. But when you come to the sixth kingdom, you put a question mark, said the sixth kingdom is not the king of the north. And we'll explain more about that kwa Q&A. So we saw the concept of the first, the Omega, Alpha and Omega, Babylon as the first king of the north. We see that religion, religion and state, a kingdom, is seen as the ideologies of religion and the culture is as one thing. So we see Nebuchadnezzar as a priestly king. We see Trump also. Trumpism and MAGA as one thing, cannot be separated. We finished with compare and contrast God and Satan. So God has a message to give to save the people, and God has to get a group of people to use to give that loud cry, do not worship the image of the beast. Then Satan also follow the same pattern, has to get a tool, a group of people to give a loud cry also, a loud cry to worship the image of the beast. We said the image of the beast, when is it created? It is as the Sunday law, at the Sunday law waymark, but it has to get live for it to speak. So we said also we can see it. Here is where you see fury being created or formed, but you can mark it by compare and contrast God's people and Satan. You can mark it right from the time of the end, where we see God is rising a group of people to do a job or to give a loud cry. The same way we will see 1989, the time of the end, also Satan is preparing a certain group of people to do what? To give a cry at the dispensation of the Sunday law. I think that's what we've done for today. We shall continue next time. So we can cross there with a word of prayer. Dear God, we thank you for this hour. Thank you for the discussion as we continue looking at these events, how they are being fulfilled, what is the image of the beast, and what is the implication in our lives. We know that you are doing a work in our lives. As we prepare to meet you, continue guiding our feet and continue assembling us together as we come to learn more of your character. Be with us for the rest of the lessons that have remained. It's my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.